I am right back with another video. It's 11:39 p.m. It is February 21st. It is pretty late tonight and it's almost midnight. So I decided to get on here and make a video. Today was pretty, let's say it was non-productive. I pretty much just did some reading and played a few games and just kind of listened to some music and just kind of kicked back and tried to relax. Didn't really do much on my job search today because it was Friday and I felt like I was winding down. So I have to pick things back up tomorrow and keep plugging away, and it's difficult. But I feel as though I made the best decision for myself because I have mentioned before that I am a victim of human trafficking, which I don't want to constantly talk about that issue. Um, it's I think the reason why I was talking so much about it is because it was terrifying to me because I felt as though I was dealing with people who were misguided or misguided. Some people were misguided. Some people were just corrupt in this whole issue. And, there's a lot of people who are misguided. They kind of go along with things, plans and schemes with people and not really understanding whether they are moral or sound or even justified. And without going too further into it, it's just that, when you're dealing with that sort of thing, where somebody is trying to force you into being in a marriage that is weird, that is terrifying to a person because, well, obviously, you know why. It's just the background doesn't mesh with mine. And it's terrifying when people are actively, aggressively going after you in such a manner to do and put something in place like that. It's disturbing to me. And some people don't know any better. Maybe, for example, some people think it's the right thing to do. It's like, well, they don't really understand that things aren't so black and white. That's no pun intended, but it's, whether it's right or wrong. Some people think, well, she married him, so therefore, this is the right thing to do. Some people think just because a kid is in an abused family, then that kid should just kind of ride it out instead of trying to seek out foster care or some other sort of help. They think, well, that's their parent and blah, 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 blah. It's not quite that simple. But whatever the case is, I've talked about it many times before. And so I'm trying to more focus on things that I need to take care of now. And it's extremely it's exhausting to a person's mind. And it is emotionally annihilating for a person. But you have to pick yourself up and keep going. It's a slow pace, I will tell you. It is a slow pace because, I've mentioned several times in my videos before, they kind of keep you in a bubble. So they sever ties with people that you used to know. And sometimes when you are around the people that you used to know, you know that they've been infected by the people who are basically your perps or they're persecuting you. So you create distance. It leaves a person isolated. If you know anything about gang stalking or human trafficking, and I suggest people Google it, okay, to get a better understanding of what this is and why I was making so many videos about it in the beginning. Because when I realized that this was going on, I wanted to educate people on what it was, why it shouldn't be happening. And so to understand my situation, to be in isolation and the ways that it actually occurs, I can't go into it all in this video, but I seriously suggest people look into this subject because it's very important. So anyway, I was thinking about misguided people today. And when I was younger, I mentioned that I studied with Jehovah's Witnesses, which I know is kind of geeky, but I would say that, was I misguided in a sense? I would say kind of, because my worldview was very limited. All I knew was what was being offered to me. And so that was what I truly believed. I believed in that, And there were a lot of times people were preaching Armageddon, or suspecting it was coming right around the corner. And so, you believe these sort of things because you don't really have any other point of reference. much like this particular community that I'm in, as well as other people who've been infected in other areas, they might have meant well because, people are a little bit leery. Like, for example, I knew some people who were atheist, right? And other people were not accepting of this particular atheist person because they felt as though everybody should believe in God, right? So when people find out that a person doesn't believe in God, yes, I do believe in God, but I'm talking about this particular atheist person. People think, well, this person doesn't have any morals. They are evil. There must be something wrong with them. And that's not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case, okay? But in some people's minds, they go on this autopilot to where they think that, in their mind, it's very clear cut. It's like, well, if you are professing to be a part of this religion, that means that you are good because you believe in God. And that's all there is to it. But in this situation, it's not necessarily based on that. This was made and created entirely based on competition. And so many people can misuse religion in a way where it can distort things in people's minds and people can make bad decisions. Such is the case in this situation, right? It's not based on anything real concrete. It's more based on a competition. And there are a lot of misguided people. When I was younger, I would say to a certain extent I was misguided by, accepting things by the Jehovah's Witnesses until I got older and I started looking into things and I'm like, no, I don't accept that. I don't believe that because I did my research. I know when you are dealing with cult behavior, one of the things they try to do is discourage you from looking into other sources. For example, when I was studying with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was younger, they did not like the idea of people, number one, studying the Bible independently without the use of like Watchtower materials. The reason why the Watchtower materials were thought to be like a companion to the Bible. So basically you would read along in this book and then it would give you references of a scripture and you'd look it up. But the reason why is because they were basically kind of slanting it or leaning it so that you'd be more accepting to see things from their point of view. And the Bible is a whole book. It's an entire book from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And it's like, you can say certain things and you can pick out one little scripture, right? But then you have to take the whole thing into account. And so this is something that I felt was important. So when I started getting older, I started looking at things and I'm like, I think the Watchtower Tract Society, the people who publish these books from Jehovah's Witnesses, they tend to keep their people in line with a particular belief system by preventing them from having any sort of contact or the ability to reach out to other resources. Okay, you're not allowed to read other materials, even from Jehovah's Witnesses consider themselves to be Christian, but you're not supposed to read any other Christian magazine, like magazines like Christianity Today or some other sort of publication. You can't even watch Davy and Goliath, back then. You couldn't do that, okay? So, that to me, that should send off alarm signals when you hear about certain things like that, when they prevent you from being able to think independently. Okay, that right there is a big clue of somebody who is doing something for manipulation, purposes of manipulating a person. And, like I said, I think maybe some people were, may have had a good heart because, like I said, people think that, well, believing in God equals being a good person. There's a lot of people who believe in God, but aren't necessarily good people. It's a very limited way of thinking, and people need to broaden their minds a little bit more. A lot of people in the prison system are from what they call good, quote-unquote, Christian homes. People have been murdered. People have stolen. People have done all kinds of things. And that doesn't necessarily, believing in God is not really necessarily enough, okay? But it's more like your lifestyle. When, like I mentioned the Bible, there was a, many years ago, I'm talking many years ago, a little bit after I first opened this channel, I started making videos in September of 2015. I believe I made this particular video in 2016. I could be wrong, but I was basically talking about how, When people want to try to first of all, I understand that Christians have a responsibility to prophesize. Prophesizing is basically when some people, like for example Jehovah's Witnesses, or you see some people, some Christian people, I've seen them, this one guy, he was holding a cross on one of these particular streets. Some people pass out pamphlets. Some people go door to door. Some people just walk up and start talking about, the Bible or whatever, and they want you to join because, they feel as though their church is a good place to get some sort of spiritual understanding, whatever. But the best way in order to bring people into God, it gives this example, talking about how, don't be yoked with a non-believer. Like, for example, husbands should be married, people should be married within their own religious structure, faith, or whatever. And so sometimes, like, for example, two people might be coming from two different backgrounds. So let's just say, for example, there's a person who was Catholic and this other person was Lutheran, and they ended up getting married because their religion really wasn't something that they were raised in deeply. So they ended up getting married. They're from two different denominations. So this one man, he decides to start going to a particular church, and his wife isn't so crazy about it. She's not crazy about it at all. But how does he get her to come to his side or see things? He doesn't force her. The thing is that he's supposed to set an example, meaning he's supposed to live a lifestyle that is, beyond reproach. Now, obviously, we are human beings and we make mistakes, right? We do make mistakes, but basically, if you are applying spiritual principles into your life, it's going to radiate something in you to where everybody's going to see it. You don't have to tell people that you're holier than thou. You don't have to act like you're better than everybody. It will be revealed in their lifestyle, in everything that they do. They'll have a kindness about them. There'll be a caring, a warmth about them that will demonstrate that. And this is how you win people over. Okay, you don't win people over by use of manipulation, bullying, trying to belittle somebody. This is when things get distorted. Okay, and I'm not pointing fingers or naming names. I'm just basically saying is that, there's a time and a place for everything. And, like, for example, some people who practice their faith, they wait till the weekend to go door to door, or maybe they take off an afternoon and they might be standing on on a sidewalk with their Bible literature or whatever. And that's what they do, okay? But sometimes it's not appropriate to do this sort of stuff, like, for example, at work, okay, because it can cause conflict. And I think, when you're in a competition where these people, I'm not mentioning names, but these people were in a competition, they used religion as a way of, in a very sinister way, and it's wrong. It's just absolutely wrong. So today I heard a phrase, and it meant a lot to me because it was, how did it go? It said something about, don't try to do the impossible for someone who didn't do what was best for you. And I thought, that is so true. That is so true. Because, I feel as though the people who got behind this, and I'm not mentioning any names because these people know who they are, they want you to take unmentionable forms of abuse. Like, they just want you to just literally bend over and take it, right? They want you to do all of these sort of things, deprive yourself of who you are, not associate with people that you want to associate with, do all kinds of things that really hurt you in so many ways, okay? And then they expect you to do this for them when you get no benefit out of it other than working for something that you don't care about. Now, mind you, I'm open to doing different things. I understand that, they took the accounting, they yanked it away from me and whatever, and that's fine. But, it took me a while to adjust to that because it was like, I figured, somebody would understand that this is wrong, but whatever. I understand certain things in the world you can't change. I can't change that. All I can do is just keep moving, just keep plugging away, and hope for some closure for myself. But all the years that I've dealt with abuse, and I don't care what their just reasons were. Okay, like I said, this is something that didn't need to be brought out in the public sector. If you care about somebody, you know how to handle it. That's not the Christian thing to do. You don't bully people or try to manipulate people or try to force things on people. And, I had mentioned before that um, my family never ever instilled that sort of belief inside of me, meaning like we never had these like hardcore rules. This was something that was conjured up just for sake of competition. I didn't grow up in a religious family. We were not religious. We went to the Baptist church a few times. My family studied with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was very young, but that was not something that was in place. That was not something that was in place at all. My mother and my father were pretty fair about those sort of things, and they were like, well, you choose that for yourself, whatever you do. But we were warned. I do remember being warned about cults, okay, and I do remember my dad teaching me about Jim Jones, which I took an interest in, and and it meant something to me because I realized, people can be misguided. They can be seriously misguided. And I've seen this, okay? I'm an example of this, okay? I'm an example of it. Um, so, no, I mean, it would be silly for anyone to think that I'd have any sort of warmth or positive feelings for people who literally stomped me out every day of my life, every single day of my life. So, and I've been thinking also about what belongs in this world, things that belong in the world that I can't control. I can't control certain things. I can't control how the world works. I cannot stop the world from being corrupt. Um, like for example, Jesus Christ couldn't stop the world from being corrupt. It's corrupt. It was corrupt when he came on the earth, and he was corrupt when he left the earth. Okay, when they nailed him to the cross, it was still corrupt. You cannot change things. I cannot, make people be good people. I can't do that. You know what I mean? But certain things in the world are evil. They are evil. Okay, and I have no control over that. I can't control that. I can't change that. And certain things in this world don't belong to me. Like, everybody goes to work, and they have a job, and there's a corporation, and it's huge, and there's people on the higher levels, and you're just one little tiny speck in the universe. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, you're absolutely nothing. You know? And they own it. That's their company, okay? And sometimes people get corrupt. They can be very corrupt, or either slash misguided, or there could be corruption in the company or whatever. And it's not yours. I don't have any stake in it. All I can do is work there and be the best employee I can be. And sometimes being the best isn't good enough. You know what I mean? I'm not saying the better than everybody. That's not what I'm saying, okay? But I think people got this information or thought that I was trying to be. See, this is what happens when you're in competition with, especially with people who are related to you, who are seeing a side of you that they never saw before, and then they feel like you're getting out of line because they're used to being able to bully you all those years. And then when you start becoming assertive and standing up for yourself, they're like, whoa, wait a second. This isn't how it's supposed to be. So they try to belittle you and make you feel bad for every little thing, that you do. So if you feel as though you have what it takes to do something better in your life, then they want to belittle you, beat you down, make you feel small, and then try to prove to everyone else, what a bad person you are. I will say that I had a lot of setbacks when I was younger. A lot of setbacks because of the bullying. Bullying that came from, people that were supposed to be caring about me, and people who followed along were also misguided. I had kids in school turn against me a lot when I was younger. And I'm not saying that I was an angel, but some of the things that I would get bullied for to me were just over the top. And I'm not going to apologize for who I am as a person because, my siblings don't understand that. All I can say is like, hey, I'm an adult. I'm over the age of 18. For somebody to act as though they had some sort of authority over me, when my own parents said, when you're 18, you're out the door and you do what you want to do, you live your life your way. I don't I'm not going to sit here and try to apologize to these people. But once again, this is the whole a competition thing. And, I don't want to mention this person's name other than right now. I'm just going to say this really quick. I would like to say my ex-brother-in-law, I am, how dare you? How dare you try to exercise some sort of authority over me? And it's not me being rebellious by any means. This is not rebellion. It's rebellion when, for example, he was designated to be like my guardian or something that was legal that I was aware of, like he was my parent or something. I'm almost 50 years old. Okay, I'm not his wife. I don't have any sort of connection to him. And why were these people so misguided into thinking that he had some sort of right over me? If he thought that I was doing something wrong, like for example, wearing the wigs or whatever, if he thought I was doing something wrong, that should have been addressed to me directly. Okay. But no, see, and this is what my ex family does. They've always handled things this way. And no, I have to stand my ground, and I'm saying no. And I understand, I'm dealing with a lot of consequences for their foolish actions. I understand that, which I've been doing all my life. Okay, I've been dealing with their foolish behavior all my life, and now I'm at a point right now. It's like, you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I don't want to deal with their crap anymore, and I'm not going to. You know what I mean? I have to face my future, and I have to deal with life as it comes. Come what may, that's just the way it is, okay? I have an aversion to my family and their views and their bullying and their lifestyle and their plastic religion. I have nothing against Christianity. I have nothing against people who want to serve God. I have everything against people who use religion as a form of abuse. I have everything against that. It's like Gandhi said. Gandhi was talking about he has nothing against Christ. He had all this respect for Christ, okay? But what he didn't like were certain people who called themselves Christian, okay? And there are a lot of people who abuse religion. They don't. They use it, you've seen these sort of scandals that have happened. Like, for example, the Jimmy Swaggart, the Jim Jones. He's like the number one, I think, that comes to my mind, because he was the first person that I understood or read or studied about that misled a lot of people. We have the guy from the Haley Bopp guy. His name completely eludes me right now, but I'm sure I will think of it later. And then the most recent one that I remember that happened in the 2000s was this Harold Camping person who convinced everybody that the end of the world was coming. I mean, he had it right down to the day, and then people quit their jobs, people sold their homes, they did all kinds of stuff, okay, only to find out that, he was wrong. His prediction was wrong. Some people like to glorify themselves and bring attention to themselves, and they will use religion. And when it's a bad thing to do, it really is. It's a bad thing to do. Or use religion as an excuse. Like, for example, me wearing wigs and then somebody trying to say, oh, this family's Christian and we're not supposed to do that. No one ever told me that. You know what I mean? No one ever told me that. Not my mother never told me that. Jim Culligan never told me that. He never told me that we were all supposed to be following line in this direction. So yes, I resent this man. As a matter of fact, I will go so far to say that I hate this person. Okay, I hate this person. Okay, because that's too much that somebody has done to you, to me in my life. So when I heard this saying today about, why do the impossible, don't do the impossible for somebody who has done nothing, has not done the best for you, he was expecting me to be married to a man who is married to his mom. Okay? I had already divorced this person, and he wanted me to stay with this person so that he can probably get some sort of benefit or whatever. I don't know what the deal was, okay? But the answer is no. No, I'm not Joel Graham's wife, and I'm not related to these people. I'm not. And I want to forget them. I do. I want to forget them and move on with my life. You know what I mean? I understand. It's a hard world out there. It really is. It's a hard world. It's a very hard world. I'm not naive, and I'm not stupid. I mean, I fully understand that. But, I also realize that I was abused. These people are abusers. They're abusers to me. To keep something like this a secret from me, to behave in the manner that they did, to be arrogant about the whole thing, the whole 9 yards, okay? The whole 9 yards. And so, sometimes you just have to walk away. You have to. And I think that, if you can think about this and how it applies to you in your life, people who expect you to do the impossible when people haven't done the best for you, that's not a good match in any situation, whether that be your sibling, whether it be your family, your parent, whatever. It's not a healthy relationship to be in. And I didn't even ask to. Like I said, I moved here in this town, and I was prepared to live my life, to go find a little job and settle here and whatever. That was it. That's all I really wanted. I never expected these people to come in after me. And I understand that, it's better if you know somebody in order to get a job. I fully understand that. I know this. Okay, I know this. But the thing is that when I was working, all the jobs that I've ever gotten from these people, I have always felt sick, and I didn't know why. I would get bullied out of nowhere. All these sort of things. And these people haven't done what was best for me. They didn't. They would give it to me, and then they would beat me down so bad, and then they would take it away from me. And then sit there and say things like, well, you didn't stay here. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. You cannot stay in a bullying situation. You cannot work in an environment where you're being mobbed out of your job. It's impossible. Also, I think you should look at workplace mobbing, okay? For people who've just been thinking, I've been talking and running my mouth about stuff. Workplace mobbing, it is impossible to survive a workplace mobbing, okay? And I've really, literally, when I talk about the psychological phenomenon that comes over people, you see these so-called good people become evil people, okay? They do not, they just become the most rotten people you've ever known. I've been persecuted a lot in this community, and I didn't deserve it, okay? I didn't break up Joel and his mom. I had no idea that was his mom. Okay, like I said, there's no way in the world. I was introduced to them as that was his mom, And then, I have this person who, she comes in, and I'm like divorced from them. And the whole thing, okay? I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to mention their names. But it's a lot on your mind, because it's like, you keep thinking, are the people who are watching this, who are being a part of this, is something wrong with them? Why is it that they do not understand that I am a victim of human trafficking, and they are letting this scandal, they're playing out this scandal in broad daylight? Okay, this scandalous. What's been going on with me is a scandal in every sense of the word. It is something that these people should be in jail for. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And I would also like to say that I'm not somebody who tries to bring about or force my views on other people, okay? I don't. The only reason why I talk about my views is because I've been put in this situation, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on? And after it's been going on for such a long time, you have to say something. I don't press my views on people. I don't expect people to convert to my way of thinking. I wouldn't want people to convert to my way of thinking because most people can't. They didn't come from the same background, the same life that I came from. They didn't experience the same thing. Some people have, but they can't. They can't possibly relate to something that they haven't experienced themselves. So what I've experienced in my life, I've become who I am, and I am who I am. I don't expect other people to be like me. Okay. So I don't, but what I deal with from my ex family in whatever, they expect me to see things their way. And I will never see things their way because their way is not with me. You know what I mean? I understand there's certain things I have to do in my life. Like for example, I changed my hair, right? Because I was like, I'm so tired of the bullshit already. And really, I will say that it is quite a hassle to do my hair every day. There are days where I have noticed that wearing a hat and then taking it off for a while keeps my hair down a little bit, So keeping that hat on while my hair is brushed down, putting the hat on for a little bit and then taking it off, it seems to work, okay? For now, okay? But then come a rainy day comes or some other, change in the weather, water temperature. I mean, my hair is a science, okay? But whatever, okay? But, I still feel as though that was something that was a private issue, and that's something you just don't talk about. You just don't talk about it. It's not something that should even be put out in the public. You know what I mean? So this is like, my family, they're bullies. That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay? So, my ex-family. So, anyway. So yeah, I took the day off today, and I just kind of did some thinking, did some reading, listening to some music, and I was thinking about, when I was really, really young, I was like about 12, 13, something was floating around in my brain today about all this stuff. And I was thinking about how when I was younger, how happy I was and how optimistic I was about the future. And it just got me thinking about a lot of stuff, And I had some happy thoughts today, And then when I was like 12 and 13, this is like when I was in like, I don't know, 6th grade, 7th grade or whatever. I was thinking about my, just my outlook and how I used to feel kind of safe when I was at home. And I felt as though, even though my ex-family wasn't the greatest, at that time, I felt, secure when everybody was in the house, And then I didn't realize that my family had this sick, morbid thing about them. Like, they didn't realize that at that time. All I remember was just thinking about going to school, being happy being there, coming home with my homework, and, hanging out with the kids at school, and just happy. I was a happy person, And sometimes I think back to those times, and yes, I realize that I'm an adult. Yes, I don't live in the past. I don't live in the past. But there are certain things that were from my past that I do look back and it makes me smile and it makes me happy. And sometimes when you are an adult and you've dealt with so much crap that you literally fucking hate, like I absolutely hate these people who did this to me. I hate these people. And when you dealt with the trauma, the ugly adult trauma that I've dealt with, sometimes you have to reflect on the good times, the good times, and you think about what inspired me back then. How did I feel back then? Blah, 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 blah. And then you have to go back and capture some of the things that you enjoyed in your life so that you can continue moving on. It's not living in the past. It's taking elements of the past to help you deal with what you're dealing with now. Because I'm a grown woman. I'm fully aware of that. I'm a grown woman. I know what I'm doing in life. Meaning, I know that it's not I don't take getting divorced and moving on with my life with very little support, willy-nilly. I fully understand that some people would be like, well, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and stay in the family that abuses me, who doesn't, shows every indication that they don't love me. They are using me, they are abusing me, and I'm going to stick with that. I would rather literally take a gun and blow my brains out, okay, than deal with these people. And that's not a joke. It's not a lie, and it's not an exaggeration. I don't care for these people. Okay, I don't. And I just want to go on with my life and forget them. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you all have a wonderful, I guess, morning. It's morning now. It's 12:14 a.m. And today is now tomorrow. Is now February 22nd. So I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you have a good morning. I will be back with another video some other time later. Take care. Bye-bye.